Hi there. As a part of AgilePoint's version 10 release, we're happy to announce support for AWS Bedrock. Now, over the course of this video, we'll first show you how to connect to Bedrock using an AgilePoint access token, and then from there, walk through the process activity configuration using a sample application. So to get started, we've moved into Manage. Under App Builder, we have Global Access Tokens. So what we'll be doing here is creating a globally reusable token that can be shared across developers and applications with its own permission framework. But bear in mind, we can always create an app level token. Okay, so let's go ahead and create a new token. So first we'll go into AWS, give the token a name, provide a description, and then as you're seeing here, whether we want to enable DynamoDB or AWS Bedrock. So we'll select the appropriate category. Now there are a few details that will come from the AWS side: access key ID, secret key, region, and then we'll test the connection. Now at the bottom, specific to Bedrock, I can prescribe a model that will be used for this token. Now this is really handy from an ongoing manageability perspective, as I have one place to change the model, as opposed to strewn across a number of applications, process activities, control towers, and so on. So it really simplifies things going forward. Okay, so once I've entered those details, we can go ahead and close this out and use that connection as a part of our application. Now we'll take a look at our use case in just a moment, but I have the AWS Bedrock activity group open. And like many other AI platforms, it has both inline process activities, which we'll see today, as well as control towers, which we've covered in another video. So there are two types of activities: one to analyze an image using computer vision, and the other being chat completion. So they're sort of very similar to a ChatGPT, Claude sort of experience, where the AI is based around use of text. Now you'll see this at different stages here in our process, but let's take a look at our sample application. And as you're seeing here across the top, it's called Document Intelligence, which basically compares multiple versions of a signed agreement and brings a human into the loop to validate the differences between the two. So first, we'll submit a new document for processing via an AgilePoint form. That document will be converted into text, which our agents can use. From here, we have an agent in charge of classification. Is this a statement of work, license agreement, or some other sort of content? And that will then drive the process branch that's activated as a result. Now, in the event that we have a statement of work, there's an agent with special skills to extract the details from that document type. And similarly here with the license agreement. And we'll walk through those in just a moment. Now again, depending on the branch that's activated, you're seeing here different sub-processes to essentially take the output from our agent, compare that against our current understanding of this customer as stored in an existing system of record. And again, bringing that human into the loop to validate the differences. So let's take a look at our first agent, again in charge of classification. So here we're using the chat completion activity. I've connected into Bedrock using the model that's prescribed at the access token level and set initial model parameters. Okay, now under system instructions here, a very bounded and structured experience. If you're used to sort of the traditional prompt engineering approach where we just have a blob of text, this is going to help us get that prompt right again and again. So first, from an overall goals and mission perspective, as we talked about, right, this agent is really in charge of classifying the inbound text into a few different types. You're seeing those here. Skills include identification of contractual, legal, service language, detect scope, licensing, customer sentiment, and to make a deterministic classification across these to drive our automation going forward. Now the input is going to be the entire document text itself, various instructions pertaining to those different document types: license agreement, statement of work, and other. No quality verification has been set up in this case. And the output going to be, again, a deterministic classification of those various document types. Okay, the request mapping is going to be the entire document text. And the response I've stored here in a variable called category. Okay, so now we have two different agents, again, with special skills to extract details from both document types. They're configured very similarly with, again, specialist skills for one doc type versus another. So we'll just walk through one of them. But let's take a look at the license agreement agent. So again here, how I've connected into Bedrock, initial model parameters, and our system instructions. So here we're extracting structured metadata from a license agreement to facilitate legal document analysis and comparison. Skills include legal document parsing, identification of key clauses, metadata, structured data extraction, and JSON formatting. Again, the input is going to be the entire agreement text, and then various instructions, right? Document parsing, normalization rules, validation checks, special handling, etc. Again, in this case, no quality verification was required. And then the output here being a JSON structure. So I have prescribed that structure. I have some sample data here as you're seeing. Okay, so moving on to the request. Again, the entire agreement text, the response being a JSON structure. And as you're seeing here, I've leveraged AgilePoint Schema Mapper to take the response coming out of our agent and mapping that back to AgilePoint elements here. Now, as I mentioned, the statement of work agent configured very similarly. I do want to quickly walk through the various sub-processes here. So first, taking a look at the license agreement sub-process, what this is basically doing here is taking the output from that agent, so all of those details extracted from the agreement, and then what you're seeing here are various activities to extract our current understanding of this customer's contract terms from an existing system of record. The idea being here in the human task, we can facilitate a side-by-side comparison. Now, as you're seeing here, the statement of work sub-process, very similar, right? Again, taking the details extracted by the agent, extracting our current understanding from a system of record, and then facilitating that side-by-side comparison. Okay, so now that we understand the application, let's go ahead and run it. Okay, so here we have our form where we could submit a new document for processing. And during the first run through, I'd like to use the license agreement. So now this document is being uploaded to our repository where our agents can grab it. All right, so our process is kicked off. Let's track it in real time. All right, so we've done the extract. Our classification agent has determined this is a license agreement. So now we're seeing our specialist agent for licensing agreements turned on, and our sub process is now running. Okay, so we've extracted our current understanding of this customer in our system of record, which means in just a moment, that human task will be ready for us where we can do that side-by-side comparison. Okay, so our human task is ready. Let's go ahead and open it up. Okay, so we're seeing the high-level details extracted from that agreement, things like the account record this pertains to, licensor versus licensee. Now moving over to the metadata comparison, as you're seeing here, there are a few differences between the two versions of the agreement. And then moving over to the Actions tab, how do we harmonize the data? Right now, based on what we're seeing, the metadata update might make the most sense, where we simply take those newly extracted details from that agreement and push it to all of my downstream systems. But I can always trigger a new contracts management flow just by uploading a new contract. But for me, I'm going to go ahead and select no change. Okay, so we've just run through the license agreement track. Let's go ahead and run it once more with a statement of work. All right, so we've kicked off our statement of work application. Again, we'll just track this here as it's running. So in this case here, the statement of work track has now been activated, and in just a second, we'll be able to do that side-by-side comparison. All right, our human task is ready. So again, similar approach here, all of the high-level details, differences between the various agreements. Now in this case here, obviously different details have been extracted given this is an agreement for a statement of work. and then how do we harmonize the data. Okay, so with that, that's going to conclude the content for this video. I hope this now gives you a better understanding of 1, how to create an access token for Bedrock, and how to use the various activities via this sample application. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you soon.